we're now live.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Ferit. I'm going to be your host today with Travel Curious, and the company that allows us to stay curious and allow the guides all around the world to share their passion with you during these difficult times. Last time I did a little tour of the Latin Quarter, but because of confinement, like strict confinement, I was stuck basically at the end of the street to the lovely Odette shop with cream puff, and we finished the tour here at Shakespeare & Company. But today, one of my friends decided to help me and we'll be able to give you a tour of the golden days of Paris, which is all about the highlights from Notre Dame to the Eiffel Tower. Look at where we are and look at my best friend Romain. Let's go towards him. So, the tour is basically trying to go the funniest way in this wonderful vintage car called a 2CV, and she has a little name. She's called Clementine, right? And maybe Romain will be able to sing to us that wonderful...
How are you guys? My name is Roman. Nice to meet you and welcome inside Clementine, 1980, 40 years old. Welcome.
Right?
Have a seat.
Let's have a quick look, right? It's gonna start. And let's go, baby, go!
Okay. Let's start with Notre Dame.
So, can you tell me, Romain, what is the name of your company, by the way?
So the name of my company is Parisi Tour.
And why is it called like this, actually, Parisi?
Because Parisi is from the name of the first tribute of Paris. Before the Roman Empire, there was a tribute and called Parisi.
Yes,
and the Parisi used to live here in this area.
And actually, so what you see on the right side where Notre Dame is standing is called the City Island. This is the heart of of Paris. This is the very center of Paris. It's a tiny island between Notre Dame and the Palace of Justice, which used to be the palace of the kings of France for more than 800 years. And the name Paris is coming from that tiny island because of several barbaric invasions. All the people living here, they had to gather on the island, wall it off, and it was called then Civitas Parisorum, the city of the Parisi, and this is how Paris, the name was born. So we're talking about the 4th century. So today we go from here, City Island, Notre Dame. We're going to pass by the Louvre, pass by the Concorde Square, the Opera of Paris, the Eiffel Tower. You can see the life is starting again in Paris. We're in spring and it's blossoming everywhere. When you look on your right side, normally you can see these lovely bookshops. These bookshops, they date from the 1600s. It has been more than 400 years that we sell second-hand books, and it's quite important to the life of Paris. This building on our right side is the headquarter of the police of Paris. It's really important when you look at the resistance of the Second World War, because the police officers started to use this as their first bastion.
Okay. Let's
Tell
go
us
straight
more about
now.
this car.
Sorry?
Tell us more about this car.
Oh, this car is the most famous French car ever. Every French people used to have one before. They start to build it in 1948 and they finish it in 1988 in France and 1990 in Europe, in Portugal. The last one has been built. Okay? And we call it the car of the people because it was a very cheap car. They made it...
Wait, 2 seconds.
Okay, let's go with the police.
So this car is quite amazing. It's really comfortable. Their first commercials was actually with a man, right, with a basket of egg next to him, and it was going through the fields like this because the suspensions are really good and you are always really comfortable in this car. The commercial was like, you will never break an egg, and you have this man, living in the countryside saying, hey, right, because it was really comfortable to drive. It's only 500 kilos. Romain and I, even though we're not tough guys, we could lift it actually if we work seriously on this. And it's after the Second World War car. The first ones were made with these undulated metal panels, really cheap metal to make it. It was really never a costly car to make. Right now we're arriving on the Pont Neuf. Why do you like the Pont Neuf so much, Romain? You were telling me about this a bit earlier.
It's a very romantic bridge. First, it's the oldest bridge of Paris and has been made by this king.
Ah yes, on the left.
The king,
yes.
Henry IV. And Henry IV was the biggest seducer of France. He is a womanizer. He is a king of womanizers.
Yes. I recall like more than 50 to 70 mistresses, right? Above French average.
And just behind him there is a very secret square area where all the lovers come to have a picnic. And now we are going to show you the Place Dauphine, a place from the 17th century.
Yes, to picture actually what that square represents, this is like the Champs-Élysées, like the most, like the 5th Avenue, Times Square of the 16th century Paris. You are walking here and like the design of the buildings around dates from exactly the same period as the Three Musketeers you may have heard of. And this is one of the first public square that has been opened in Paris. At that moment, no sewers, tiny little streets, like in the Latin Quarter, and this was the first place that were trees inside the cities, that you can walk around, that carriages were forbidden to pass by. And you can see on your left, right, people are playing bocce. So many movies have been shot here as well. Which was that movie that was shot around here?
Midnight in Paris.
Yes, Midnight in Paris, that's it.
And as you can imagine, all the apartments here are very expensive. That's one of the most expensive places to live in Paris, with Place des Vosges and Saint-Louis Island. It's approximately 20,000 euros per square meter.
Yes, 20,000 euros per square meter. You like that, huh? Right? When the business comes back?
When the business comes back, I will buy an apartment here for sure.
Yes, of course, right? But this is not the type of car you buy when you have this kind of apartment. I mean, people love that car. You have many collectioners who love this type of car.
Let's go now to...
Actually, when you see the bridge from this side, I can recall there is an anecdote about this, you know? That bridge is as you said, is the oldest one of Paris. But this is one of the first bridges that didn't have houses on it, and there was a permanent market, fairs going on it. And it was really famous for the dentists. I don't know if you heard that one.
No, I didn't ever know that.
But Henry IV actually, he was a king of the people, and he really loved to go to a kind of special show that was happening on this bridge. The dentists were not making you pay to remove your bad teeth. They were making people pay to actually watch them removing teeth.
Really?
It was like watching people suffering, having their teeth removed was the show. And so Henry IV, as many of us actually were passing by here.
How old is this bridge?
So it dates, I think it's 1607 or 1610, between the moment they officially finished it.
Yeah, but why this bridge is the oldest bridge of Paris, right? From the end of the 16th century. So why we call this bridge Le Pont Neuf, New Bridge?
Because I think it was the very first bridge built in stone.
Okay.
All the other bridges of Paris at that moment of history were in wood, so they are all gone now. And so this is the one remaining from that period, actually. This is the oldest bridge of Paris today. It's also the longest one. You know, we're just at the gate of the...
Where are we now? We have a question.
So we are between Latin Quarter and Saint-Germain on the riverside.
Which bank?
On the left bank, on the southern part of Paris. On the left side right now, you will be able to see in 2 seconds the French Academy. This is where we decide on the gender of new words and grammar rules for the French language. This also...
So now we know the gender of COVID.
We don't know actually.
We do, it's La.
It's La, they decided?
Yes.
Oh my god. You know, I think there was a debate like for the last 2-3 weeks about like, is it a woman or a male or a female word, COVID. And these guys are paid quite a lot. The funniest one was that when they were deciding about iPod, right? And the joke goes as the iPod is a male because, right? It's simple, really easy to use, easy to turn on, and never lasts long. Well, they have a fancy job in this French Academy. The people working there are called the immortals. Let's look on the right side. Can you see the right side over there? Can you see behind the trees a little bit? There is the Louvre. And so the Louvre has evolved for 800 years now.
Do you know where does it come from, the name of Le Louvre?
You know, it's kind of fun because, you know, we started guiding together as like driving guides, and then I decided to go back in history and history of art, just like you did before you started driving. And in the university, when I asked the question, basically they only have theories about this. Mm-hmm. What's yours?
About the name of Le Louvre?
Yes, what's your theory?
I heard about the wolf, because there was something here to hunt the wolf, and we used to call it Louvre. Is that the same for you, no?
Actually, the coolest one I have read about, because we have like several versions of this, the coolest one I've heard about is because of the Franks. You know, people
Yeah,
that gave
yeah.
their name to France. There's this guy called Clovis, the very first king of all the French. He arrived 5th century, becomes the king of France. And 508 settles his capital in Paris. Well, he built a wooden fort here.
Oh yes, I heard about this.
And in Frankish, a wooden fort is called a louvre.
Lover.
And
Okay.
so that's something. That's maybe why it's called a Louvre today. It may be like an old Frankish word to describe a fortress as well.
So
How
whatever.
old is the Louvre?
yeah,
The very beginning of the Louvre is built between 1180 and 1200.
and it's still possible to see some part of this.
Yes,
Louvre?
yes, yes. You have seen, like, you know when they did the pyramid of the Louvre, it costed a lot more money because they discovered this like first foundation of the Louvre. To give you a time frame, because 1200 doesn't speak to everybody. 1200 is the time you have Richard Lionheart coming back from Crusade, just in time to play in a Robin Hood movie with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner. This is exactly the same time frame. Look at the pyramid. Isn't that amazing? I really love that pyramid.
How old is the pyramid?
Only 1980s. I think I'm as old as the pyramid actually. I'm 30 years old. And it's from 1991, 1989, 1991.
It was it for to celebrate the
Centenary.
yeah, of the revolution. That's
Yes. And the anniversary of the Louvre. Right,
it.
the same.
Okay.
It's an amazing. You know, people complain about this, but before that,
Yeah,
there used to be
nobody
a
didn't
crappy
like it,
car park.
Yeah.
Yes, and this was the entire wing here was the Ministry of Finance.
Ah yes, yes, yes.
Mona Lisa is on the right side. You look at the pyramid, look to the right, and this is where the Mona Lisa was. Can you see the little arch over there?
Ah, that's made by the best Napoleon,
Yes,
right?
I'm going to show you a T-shirt a bit later because you're a huge fan of Napoleon, actually.
Yeah, Napoleon made the two Arc de Triomphe. The little one here of the carousel and the biggest
So-
on the Champs-Élysées. And it was to celebrate
Yes.
the army, right?
Yes, and it was for the Battle of Austerlitz. I mean, everybody here,
Okay.
I'm sure that everybody knows which battle Napoleon lost, right?
Yeah, but they don't know.
You want to sing it, right? We don't sing it
the
anymore.
sing of
Waterloo, na, 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 na.
No, I
Right?
know more the chant de départ.
Yes?
La victoire en chantant.
Oh, you're good at it. You're good at it. Right now, we're going towards Rivoli Street. Rivoli actually is named after a victory we had in Italy, a Napoleon victory. And this is, you can see these little arcades over there. It's like inspired from Italy, actually, on the right side. It's nice to do shopping when you come to Paris around here next to the Louvre. You can go shopping in these streets. And we're going to turn to the left. We see how it works because the mayor has started to be crazy in Paris and we cannot go everywhere with the cars anymore. So we see how it goes.
So let's go straight until
You want to left?
the opera.
Ah, we go to the opera.
Yeah, we go
Let's
there.
let's go straight to the opera. Yes, because we're running this thing a bit earlier, and let's look at the opera. Have you heard about the Phantom of the Opera?
What can you tell us about the Phantom of the Opera?
Well, it's a true story, actually.
Really?
There really was a ghost in no.
No.
No, there was actually, when they built this opera, you can see it at the end. When they built that opera, there is a war that took place in France against Germany in 1870. A year after, Civil War in 1871, and the building behind the facade caught fire. And so
Okay.
that's for the fire in the story. Then the opera is sitting on a dead arm of the Seine River. And this is why when you take the metro over there, it smells like a bad fart actually.
Okay.
But there is a lot of water in there. So they had to build a fake lake in
Okay,
concrete
yeah.
with holes in it to drain the water from the foundation of the opera. They empty
okay.
it once a month with the firemen. And so you have a lake, you have a fire, and in the 1890s, there is a lady who died, and the seat is still empty when you go to the opera because one of the props, right, like one of the counterweight
Okay.
for the panels, you know, for the opera, like things, that collapsed,
Okay.
crushed the ceiling, and killed her on the spot.
Oh.
And so there is a writer called Gaston Leroux who lived on Montmartre, right next to the Sacré-Cœur, who decided to write a novel putting all of these wonderful elements of the opera together to tell the story of the Phantom of the Opera. So if you read about the Phantom of the Opera, you'll see these things. It's about this opera that you see at the very end.
So tell us, we are now on the Avenue de l'Opéra,
Yes.
and this is a typical avenue of Haussmann, of the
Yes.
Baron Haussmann, right?
Yes.
And
Well, Haussmann, I don't know if some of you have heard about it in the online, but Haussmann is the great urbanist of Paris. We came from the Latin Quarter. You can go to the Marais, you can go to Montmartre maybe to see the old Paris. But the rest of Paris has been rebuilt in the 19th century. 19th century, Paris was a dump. 1850s, we don't have proper sewer system. Gas and lighted streets are only scarce. And we decided with Napoleon III to destroy between 60 and 70% of the city and rebuild it. And we redesigned all the streets, broad avenues, gas and lighted streets, sewer system. And before that,
It was to make a modern city.
Modern city, right? At that moment, we still don't have cars, but they were like tramways, right? Cable cars inside the city. And he also decided you can see like these. You see these balconies on the right side, left side of the building, everywhere. What do you think these balconies are made for, actually? What do you do on these balconies?
What do you do?
Yes,
But
I never lived in an apartment.
What can we do? We can have a dinner.
Dinner, right?
Yes,
A
of course.
tiny dinner, romantic dinner. Just a space for the table and 2 chairs.
Exactly.
Maybe a cup of wine, right?
Yes.
Smoking. You can like hello to you, right? You can like seduce from this date, from this thing. Well, all the balconies in metal, you see, they are all the time at the same level. This is made to send the army to actually destroy, counter-revolution, anything that could happen here. Imagine that before the 1780s and the 1850s, 60 years about, we have about 3 revolutions and 7 different regimes within 60 years. So the man who designed this really wanted to make sure there were going to be any revolutions anymore.
We have a question.
Yes,
Are shops open in Paris?
Yes, a lot of shops are open. The only thing that cannot open right now are restaurants, coffees, and some food restaurants have the right to be open, like ice cream sellers.
To take away.
But like takeaway food only. And restaurants can open, but only for takeaway. So most of the big names they don't reopen yet. But beginning of June normally, 2nd of June, we are going to be able to have restaurants open again. But most of the shops are open now. You can see we are like, but still the city is so quiet.
So Napoleon III decided to make the new opera house.
Yes. Napoleon III, the nephew of Napoleon I.
He was not a good strategic for battle and war, right?
He was a great builder.
Yes.
But like during that war, he's talking about the war. When you are from the US or UK, usually when I'm giving the tours, people laugh at French efficiency in wars. But until Napoleon, we were quite not bad actually. And what happened is that Napoleon III was a great builder. He rebuilt Paris. Thanks to him, we have a modern Paris today. But when he went to war, within 3 weeks of battle, he got captured by the Germans. And we didn't say please give it back to us. We said you can keep him, and we changed regime basically. So yes. So you enjoy the tour so far? How is it to be in this old vintage car?
Very comfortable.
When we do these tours, usually we have got champagne with us, because as long as the driver doesn't drink, we can serve champagne to the people inside. Because it's a touring car, it's not a taxi, it's not like a Uber style, so you can drink your champagne. Personally, I drove these cars for 3 years. Romain has been doing this for 7 years, but I got fed up to drive during the daytime, so I'm only driving at night. I'm a night bird now. When there is no traffic, I cannot handle it.
Now we are going to discover another royal place. We saw on the beginning of the tour the oldest royal place of Paris, Place Dauphine, and now we are going to see the luxurious royal place of Paris, Place Vendôme.
Yes. So we saw the oldest royal square of Paris, and now we're going to see one of the latest built by Louis XIV. The guy who built Versailles is the one who built that one. At the beginning, you had a tiny statue of him at the bottom. And when Napoleon arrived, he wants to build that city as an imperial city. That street, by the way, is the most expensive one when you play Monopoly in France. It's called Rue de la Paix. If you know Cartier, this is where we invented the wristwatch. When you arrive on this square, only jewel makers have the right to be here. And as we turn around, we're going to pass by the Ritz. Maybe some of you love Coco Chanel, right? This is where she had an apartment inside here, and you can still rent it actually.
And where Lady Diana had a last dinner.
Yes,
in
actually,
Paris
we could
before.
almost do the last route of Lady Diana. So
Yeah.
Lady Diana took a taxi from here, right?
Oh,
Took
yes,
a driver
exactly.
from here,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
she's going to take the path that we are going to take.
Exactly.
On the other side, you have on the left side, you have the Coco Chanel shop, right? But only for jewels. You can see pictures though of the Second World War with GIs, right, queuing in front of that shop trying to get the number 5. The Column of Victory, of course, which is a lovely Column of Victory with Napoleon at the top, right?
Celebrate 1804 in Austerlitz.
Yes.
And is that true? I know a legend about this column, that they made it with the cannon from the battle in Austerlitz. They took the cannon from the enemies, and Napoleon said 100 cannon
Yes, this
has
is
been
true.
made.
About 100 cannons. Yes, basically it has been, we took the cannons of our enemy, and you see we were not always bad at war. We took the cannons of our enemy and we melted them down to pull that column of victory. And this was taken down by a famous artist of the 19th century called Gustave Courbet. So now we exit, we go back to the Rivoli Street. On our left, can you look on the left over here? You have a Louis Vuitton shop and you have what we call Rue Saint-Honoré and Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré. This is the birthplace of high fashion in Paris, the birthplace of fashion in the city. All the most famous brands, and the concept of fashion is born from these two streets. There is a house of fashion called Worth, the House of Worth. That's really important. He's the man, Charles Frederick Worth, who invented the concept of fashion. Where suddenly, you didn't have someone telling you I would like to buy that dress, it's nice, it's famous. But when the tailor was telling you, my dear, I'm going to tell you what you wear from right now. And so let's turn to the right.
We are going on the road to see another royal place. There is 5 royal places in Paris: Place Dauphine, Place des Vosges, Place de la Concorde, where we are going now, and there is also Place Vendôme and Place des Victoires.
Yes.
And this one now is the biggest royal place of Paris.
Trace à gauche, mec. Trace à gauche. Yes. The traffic is a bit dodgy today, but we're going to take shortcuts.
So every royal place has a different shape, right?
Yes. Some are square, some are triangle, some are circle. We're really creative in France, isn't it? So we arrive at Concorde Square. This square is famous because of the movie The Devil Wears Prada, of course. You know, at the end of the movie, Anna Fabre throws a cell phone into a fountain. We're going to the fountain just here. But it's mostly famous because of the obelisk. Can you see the obelisk? Right, you're on it. Look at that. This is the oldest monument of Paris. This comes from Luxor, from the tomb of Ramses II.
More than 3,000 years old?
Yes, 3,000 years old. It's kind of amazing, actually. It's cracking down.
Can you translate what the hieroglyph?
Actually, it's translatable,
Yeah.
but it says Ramses II was a kick-ass pharaoh, and he says that the tours with Roma and Ferit are the best. This is what's written there. It's a prophecy, actually.
I see.
No,
What
but
about this hotel?
this hotel is called the Hôtel de Crillon. Do you know who stayed there?
No.
For free many times? You watched the Tour de France, right?
Yes.
The Tour de France, it was ending. The Tour de France was the last round of the Tour de
see.
France was taking place here. And the Crillon Hotel is a palace of Paris. It's above 5-star. It's above 5-star in Paris. And they offered to the winner of the Tour de France 1 week for free in their presidential suit. Right?
Okay.
Because the presidential suit anyway was not always rented, so they knew it. So they were offering for free 1 week to the winner of Tour de France. We know who won the Tour de
nice.
France quite a few times.
Well,
A Texan guy?
yeah, but he shit, no?
Yeah, he cheated. He cheated. Lance Armstrong. And so he had to pay back, I think, or they sent him the bill. There was like yes, 400,000 euros actually.
That's a good idea.
Yes. Too bad. Let's
Did
get.
he pay?
I don't know actually. We always hear that he had really good lawyers. It was supposed to be a gift, so I don't. You don't ask for money back when you offer something.
Okay,
And where we now?
Champs-Élysées.
Look at this. We see all the highlights today together with Romain.
It's not the longest avenue.
Yes, it's said to be the longest
Yes.
avenue of the world, right? I don't know. I haven't been to other countries, but people say it's the longest avenue in the world.
Well,
At the very end, what have you got? You have got the Arch of Triumph. And actually, this one and the small arch that we saw in the Louvre are perfectly aligned. It's called the historical axe. Napoleon saw the small one that was in the Louvre. He never saw this one completed.
Exactly. He died in 1821, something like that.
Yes, 1821, right?
And they finished only in 1836.
Yes, exactly. Actually, there is a guy who became a huge fan of the Arch of Triumph. It's called Gustave Eiffel.
Yeah.
He was 4 years old, and his mom cut the engravings in the journals to offer it to him. And when Gustave Eiffel actually came to Paris for the welfare, 15, 17 years later, 1855, 20 years later, he was just freshly graduated from the best engineering school of civil engineering in France. And he didn't took his mom to the welfare first. He took her to the Arch of Triumph.
Okay.
And they looked at the view from the top of the Arch of Triumph. And some 30 years later, right, there would be the Eiffel Tower was built.
Oh, I
And
see.
like you imagine, the beginning of the career of Gustave Eiffel really maybe started from the Arch of Triumph. He was hired a company like a month afterwards, and that's it. And he was like setting himself from there. You have a parade every day.
Every day for the 14th July. No,
And on the left, what have we got on the left? We have
this
got
is the Grand Palais.
yes.
And we will see just after the Petit Palais just on the front.
So
And
the big palace and the Petit
and
the small
exactly,
palace.
and they are both from the World Fair exhibition of 1900. That's
yes,
it.
1900.
I heard they have to renovate the Grand Palais because the foundation are not strong enough. As it was supposed to be
Yes,
just.
I think it's the Petit Palais for the foundation,
Okay.
and the Grand Palais for the for the windows, the glass and iron rooftop.
Okay.
You know what happened in 1995? I think you know Jean-Paul Gaultier,
Yeah.
right? The tailor. Well, they were doing. This is where they do the fashion weeks actually. And if you have seen the last Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, when they land in Paris with their parachute. They land on top of the Grand Palais. But well, back in the 1990s, during a fashion week, Jean-Paul Gaultier is right now, like working on the clothes, on a beautiful mannequin, right, and like on the model, right, and they're working on it, last minute details, and he turns his head back to the model, and while his back is turned from his working station, he hears a massive crash of a rivet that crashed from the roof, from the ceiling of that building, that completely smashed his tools. And so the rivets were starting to fall off from the ceiling. So they had to restore it completely. We have temporary exhibitions, but my favorite entrance actually is the Petit Palais. Look at that. Look at the Petit Palais. It's like a dreamlike entrance. You have 3 exhibitions inside the Petit Palais. Really famous Monet paintings and the temporary exhibitions that are great as well.
So they made both of them just to celebrate the French architecture, right?
Yes. It's called Beaux-Arts art, actually. It's like a mixture of all the best architecture from the last centuries, from the Renaissance. It's exactly the same art as Opera of Paris.
We kept a lot of monuments because normally after each World Fair exhibition we are supposed to destroy all of them, no?
Yes, but these ones were built by the money of French people.
Okay.
So these two, with the bridge that we are passing on, and maybe we should look to the right now. You see, we can see the Eiffel Tower. This is one of the most romantic bridges in Paris. In the movie Midnight in Paris, this is where the last scene takes place, actually, where this Owen Wilson kisses Léa Seydoux, and just underneath you have one of the best clubs of Paris. Maybe we could go out and you can pick us up a bit further.
Yes, of course.
And so we can have more like a.
You want to make us up here?
Yes. No, you go just on the other side. You cross.
Let's stay
No,
in the car.
we stay in the car. How are we doing with the time?
I can't tell.
Yes, we can tell what time is it.
We are not so bad.
Not so bad. That's great.
Let's get out at Eiffel Tower.
Okay. So we have the time actually. We're going to go around the Invalides. But let's look at the bridge a little bit again, right? When you look to the right,
What's the name of this bridge?
Alexander III Bridge.
It's
the name of the Russian Tsar.
Was the father of the last Tsar, Nicholas II, right?
Exactly, the father of Nikolai II. And so the bridge was meant to celebrate the peace between France and Russia, because we betrayed Russia during the Napoleonic Wars, and this was the way to say 100 years later about. 100 years later that we have peace between the two countries now. And you see at the very end of the scenery, what can you see? You can see the
What?
Invalides.
Yes.
See that? You know who is buried in the Invalides? I'm sure you know.
Of course I know.
Right?
I know.
When we get out, we're going
the
to be able to
greatest
see it, for
emperor
sure.
of the world, Napoleon.
Yes, better than Caesar, isn't it? Right? He didn't give his name to a salad, though.
No.
Well,
What's the temperature in Paris?
about
25 degrees today?
Yes, about 80 to 90 Fahrenheit.
Yes.
So it's quite nice, actually. It's like full summer. So it's
So
quite good, actually. Well, lucky.
On the field that we can see right now, that was also where was the warfare exhibition, right?
Yes.
Here and on the front of Eiffel Tower,
Yes.
on the field of March.
Yes, Field of March. Right now we're going towards the Invalides. Invalides was built just before Versailles. You know the wonderful castle where there is the Hall of Mirrors.
And the architect is one of the architects of Versailles,
Yes.
Ardouin Mansart.
Yes, Jules Ardouin-Mansart is the same.
Same architect of the Place Vendôme we saw on the big
Yes.
before. Okay.
Same great architect. This man actually gave his name to Mansard, and like you may have heard of it,
That's
it's never like it's a type of rooftop. So thanks to him, actually, we have this great ensemble, and this was built as a tribute to all the veterans of France from the French army. The goal was to offer to the veterans who were often handicapped. You know, you go to war, you get wounded, you lose your arm, you lose your leg, you lose anything. And all the soldiers were invited to be able to stay for free in this place.
What's
Yeah,
the name? Where are we now? The name of the location?
We're on the
Invalides.
Esplanade of the Invalides. And so an esplanade is a massive square, which is not a park, basically.
So as you can see, there is really no more quarantine in France, and everybody is outside now.
The only rule is that you don't have the right to gather more than 10 people together.
But
and you see there are
yeah.
police officers and forces all around. So in case there are too many people, they kick them out, basically.
Yes.
So you see these guys going down with their beers, police officers being chill. This is like what you can do in Paris usually. The only thing that you cannot do in Paris is being drunk in the streets. But you can drink as much as you can. So this is the thing. We love to do picnic anywhere. And it's like we have this like opportunity to have this in great city centers. Wow, it has been a long time I haven't been on these cars, right? Don't you miss it?
Yes, I did. And today the traffic is not so bad, so it's a real pleasure to drive this car without traffic.
So what else is inside this Golden Dome apart from the tomb of Napoleon?
You have the military museum. You can learn about the uniform of all these French soldiers of the First, Second World War, and many other wars before. You can see like some replicas of tanks. You know, I mean.
Oh yes, I didn't see that.
Yes, it's called a Bimbis, and you have like both. You have like a Panzer. You see the Panzer II actually, and they're facing one each other. The Bimbis was like quite a strong tank, but we couldn't keep up with the production. Eventually, you have like History of War Museum, and so basically that's it. You have the second cathedral of Paris. Paris is one city. Normally you have one cathedral per city with one bishop, but Paris has got two cathedrals. This is called St. Louis Cathedral. The tomb of Napoleon is in there, and you have the bishop of the French army. But right now, maybe we can look on our left for 2 seconds. There is a little park. You see that park?
That's where
Right.
is.
Yes. This is an embassy.
Okay.
Right,
And the
you have
next
like-
one is where the sculpture Rodin.
Yes, Rodin, the
Okay.
sculptor, right? Maybe you have all heard about the thinker, right?
Because he
of
used to
Rodin.
live here before.
He used to live here with a really famous French German author called Heinrich Meyer Rilke, Rainer Meyer Rilke.
Okay.
And so Rainer Meyer Rilke wrote many good poetry and like
Uh-huh.
Rodin, amazing sculpture. They were living together. One was the secretary of the other, and they were having the wonderful parties with their girlfriends and wives.
I heard inside the Invalides there is still 80 rooms for invalid soldiers still open for them.
Yes, the thing is that you still have a part. So the Invalides, it was like separated into 3 different things. You had the church,
Yes.
you had the hotel of the Invalides,
Uh-huh.
and you had the hospital.
Yes.
Like for people to be taken care of. And we had an hospital over there. The goal of all of this was like the complex remained. Today you still have the hospital part, and people mostly come here to do their re-education, you know, for kinesiotherapy and so on.
I see.
Why no one is wearing masks?
No. A lot of
the
people.
pedestrians.
No. Yes, because we are French, people don't follow rules. You're not obliged, but highly recommended. We can pause here 2 seconds. Look at the beauty of this church. 7 kilos. Pause. 7 kilos of pure gold on top of the dome. Here's a fun story about the dome. Actually, there are 2 domes inside it.
Yeah.
You have been inside, right?
Yeah, I've been.
And when you go inside, you realize actually that the ceiling looks much closer than what you expected, isn't it?
Ah, yes, that's true.
Because the
Yeah.
guy who built it is Louis XIV. He's a tiny man. It was 5'2". And when he entered inside, he looked at the top. I mean, I'm 5'7". I'm not that much bigger. But when he entered, he saw the ceiling and he said, "It's beautiful, but I cannot enjoy the paintings on it." So they had to build a fake dome at the base.
Yeah, I see.
For him to be able to see the paintings in it. But it's quite nice. So you still have soldiers staying inside here.
Yeah.
They always complain about the cobblestones.
It's like the Pantheon for the soldiers here also, no?
Yes. The Pantheons for the soldier, you have a part of their names written here, part of their names written on the Arch of Triumph. You have underneath the Arch of Triumph, you have these like tomb for the unknown soldiers.
Yes.
A parade takes place every day at 6 p.m. You have like some veterans playing.
And military. Is that where also is buried the son of Napoleon, Napoleon II,
Yes, Napoleon II, yes.
the eagle baby, no?
The eagle, yes.
The eagle.
Joe is complimenting on your car, Roman.
Ah,
It's
thank
the
you very much.
longest time that she has seen a journey on the 2CV that still hasn't broken down.
I'm glad.
Wow.
Clementine is the most famous French car of Paris, actually.
But you know, yes, the orange car. You know, Romain is quite he has got silk hand. I don't know how to say it right. He has like really smooth hand. We call him Cool Hand Romain, right? He's like really smooth with his car. Magical hands.
Well, it takes a lot of effort to keep up the car.
I mean, this is the car, you know, you go out with it once and you have to fix it once. It's like
Yeah, you
every time you get out, you have to
fix
everything.
something. Almost
But at least
every-
you can fix it yourself. You know, it takes 10 minutes if you know. You don't need to go to the mechanic and he's going to bill you the price of the car.
Let's go on the road to the Eiffel Tower now.
On the road again.
But just before Eiffel Tower, I wanted to show
Actually, it's got a great view.
beautiful monuments of Paris, and made by the King Louis XV. The military school that you can see now on the right side.
This is where Napoleon I actually finished his last exams.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay.
Look at the view with the clock in the middle. Going places where I've never
And now
been.
let's go to the Field of March.
The Field of Mars, yes. This is kind of a nice thing. You know, at the very beginning of the tour, we're talking to you about the Parisis.
Yes.
These
That was a
people-
battle, right, between
Yes.
the Parisis and the Roman Empire.
Yes, basically to picture out the battle. Have you seen maybe Gladiator? Right?
Yeah, I saw
Gladiator?
the movie. Yeah.
And you have seen Braveheart.
Yeah.
Half of their face painted in
Uh-huh.
blue, showing their butts on the
Yeah,
battlefield.
yeah.
You do that too, right? No. But painting showing their butts on the battlefield. You blend the two movies together, and you've got the last stand of
Okay.
the Parisis, and they fought over here. There was a marshland.
Yes.
And they had like really bad armor. They were fighting in a marsh just because the cavalry of the Romans couldn't fight, and they fought until the last.
Okay.
Not a single one of these 400 or 500 guys survived the battle.
I heard
So-
also maybe the principal city of Paris, it was not really in the city island, but more in Nanterre or something.
The fact that we said that the center of Paris actually is always Notre Dame because the historians of the 19th century
Yeah.
wanted to make it so. Wanted
Exactly.
to make a mythology of the origins of Paris located at Notre Dame. But that's true. Most of the richest city was
Yeah.
a bit further down in Nanterre, so you can go and visit. There is a really nice antiquity museum over
Really?
there. Just to tell you how far, the Roman culture had been and was enabling all religions before Christianity, you had statues and you had a temple of Osiris, this Egyptian goddess, actually, in Nanterre.
Okay, okay.
So it's quite crazy to see how wide the Roman Empire was going with everything. But the last stand was here, and the Parisis fought until the last, and as a tribute to these valorous fighters, right? Even Caesar, he was like, these people are completely disorganized. It's a mess to work with them in normal times and to do business with them. They change mind all the time, these French people. Nothing has changed. Basically, when you do business with French people, we change our minds all the time. But basically, he said when they start to fight for something, they fight for real. And actually, this has been true for the rest of the east of France. When we're in a deep sea, SHIT, we start to fight for good. These are the Napoleonic Wars were done, when all the kingdoms around France were fighting the revolutionaries. We defeated most of them.
John of
yes.
Arc.
Joan of Arc, right? The last stands are always the best for the French people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so as a tribute to this, they call this field the Field of Mars, as a tribute to these fighters. Right now where you are, this is the poshest area of the city. We're one street away from the Eiffel Tower. We're almost arriving at the Eiffel Tower. We're going to get out of the car when we arrive at the Eiffel Tower. And what's going to happen is that we are going to have a little time for a Q&A, you and us. And you can ask anything, about life, about Paris.
One
And
audience
this-
wants to know, is the office open now?
Office, like to work
Office
in
buildings,
the, yes, most of them are open. But to be honest with you, I think there was going to be a great crisis of office building property market, because we start to realize that most of the job can be done at home, and most of the people try to remain at home. I have a friend who is an engineer. He is working only 1 day per week. All of the staff of the company works only 1 day per week at the office, just to say we are here, and the rest of the week they work from home. So most of the people still try to stay home. I took the metro the other day to go to around the Louvre. It was like peak hour, 10 people in one wagon.
Here we are, the Field of March, and of course the Eiffel
The
Tower.
nightlife in Paris.
How is
Right
the nightlife?
now, talk to Romain
No,
about this.
nothing to do now.
Here's
For the
the
night,
park.
yes, only outside. You can go to the park, or you can go to the quay, and here you can
To the riverbanks.
to the riverbank. Sorry, and have a bottle of wine, of course, with saucisson and cheese, fromage.
Yes. Or 2 bottles of cheese and fromage, right? Let's get us on the car. Merci. Right.
Please, madame.
Yes, holding the car, holding the gate, right?
So the tallest monuments of Paris still now.
Yes, we are going to have Josephine like holding the camera again. Come with me, man, right? And so look at this guy, right? Napoleon the First, right? It can be represent. So that's it, Paris represent, right? Take this for you.
You're a
Thank
little
you.
taller than Napoleon.
No, we're
I'm
exactly.
a bit taller than Napoleon.
Actually, we're exactly the
Napoleon
same
won
size.
161, no?
It was 168. He was 5'7",
68.
actually.
No, Sarkozy won 168.
Yes, and you had like
A big
Louis
difference.
You know, Louis XIV was even smaller. It was like this big, high heels, tall wig. And so, what about the Eiffel Tower, the masterpiece today, right? Eiffel Tower, built in 2 years, 2 months, 5 days. The only time in our history we can put French and efficient together in the same sentence. I mean, picture that. Nobody died while they were building it. Nobody died. 250 guys worked on it. 18,000 pieces of metal, 2.5 rivets. Right. So, but that was quite a project. Nobody believed it was possible. And by the way, if you are coming from the US, if any of you is from Philly, is anybody from Philadelphia here? No.
The delay is gonna come in 3 seconds.
Yes.
Somebody answer.
Yes. Philadelphia? No? Yes? Well, if you are coming from Philly, just know that there was a tower that was supposed to be designed in Philadelphia for the centenary of the American independence called the Clarke and Reeves Tower. That was supposed to be the same size, 1,000 feet tower. But he didn't build it because nobody trusts them, right? The law of money. The reality is that Eiffel paid himself for the tower, 80% of the budget. This is why we have it today.
Is that still the tallest monument of Paris? Or
It's still the tallest monument in Paris, and it's still the tallest monument in Europe.
and
There
okay.
is not a single other platform that's higher, man-made, that's higher built than this tower. Actually,
Yeah.
this is the higher tower in Europe.
I heard also there is a rule they cannot build a monument taller than Eiffel Tower.
Oh, it's even further than this. You know the catacombs, right?
Yes.
Last time we were supposed to go together because there is
Uh-huh.
a massive network of catacombs. And so because of the quarry network of Paris, you cannot build something higher than 50 something meters, about 50 yards high,
Okay.
because of the quarry network of Paris.
Okay.
They started to allow this in the 1970s. Turn around, right? And they built that building at the very end of the city. You see that one? You know this one, right?
Montparnasse Tower.
It's called the Montparnasse Tower. It's called the middle finger of France. That one is 2/3 of the size of the Eiffel Tower. It was the first skyscraper built after the Eiffel Tower. When they built that one, they said no more. And 3 years after, they said we don't build anything higher than the level of the streets today. Let's come back to the Eiffel Tower.
What's
So-
that scaffolding in front of the tower?
They are restoring it. They are restoring the Eiffel Tower, and it was supposed to be for the Olympic Games of 2024.
Yeah.
And in 4 or 5 years, we are going to have it completely redone. Have to repaint it, but they were also changing one elevator because some of the elevators have the original, like the elevators have the original design. So like we have to reinforce the pillars, change rivets, repaint it, and so they to actually do everything these days. There's a bit of wind right now. So what's happening is that they are restoring the part of the Eiffel Tower painting and structure as well.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do a selfie, all three of us together, because the tour has been provided. Questions? Any more questions? Yes? There's a little delay of 2-3 seconds normally, so normally I can get the questions in 3 seconds. But otherwise, I would like to thank really much Romain Payet from Paris Tour, and my wife, Josephine. Maybe she will be able to do a selfie in 2 seconds, who helped us to film all of this, because I cannot multitask. I cannot film and talk at the same time. Roma can drive and talk. I can drive and talk a little bit. But well, we thank you to have followed us on Travel Curious. And just remember, this video will be available for a week on the website www.staycurious.com. And you can watch it, and of course you can watch all the other videos Stay Curious program has been doing for the last few weeks. During this very special period, Travel Curious Tours allows us, the guides, to remain active and to be able to show our passion, actually. And you can help all the other guides in Europe as well as us, and leave a tip if you feel like it. But just liking the video is already really good. But Romain needs a bit of gas for his car, right?
It was a pleasure for me, guys, and I hope to see you soon. And I hope you had a good time with Clementine, the most famous French car of Paris, the most famous French car of the world.
So goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye, thanks.
And you share it on IGTV.